I want to talk about gamer burnout
Okay.
and reigniting the passion for games. Right? We all face it at a time. We have like I get messages from people who are, they just email. It's really nice actually. They email to say, "Sorry, I'm not going to be around on the site for a while. I've kind of got out of the hobby, or I've been feeling a bit burned out by the hobby and stuff like that." So, I don't often really know what to say to them. So I tend to say, taking a break's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Go and find stuff to enjoy yourself. Because if it's meant for you, it'll well back up at a time that's right for you.
Yeah.
So I want to talk with you guys in the community about gamer burnout, and because we are seeing any golden age, like the extended golden age that we've had in gaming now for a while, I think is going to compound gamer burnout. It won't initially because there's lots and lots of new shinies and new stuff to keep you occupied.
But that can contribute to burnout whenever you're overloaded.
Exactly. At some point, I think it will drive burnout. Some of the symptoms of burnout. I have suffered from this, so like some of the symptoms I have is I suffer this when I come in here into Beasts of War. I'll say to myself, I want to play a game, and I'll step into the studio, and there's so much choice. I'm paralyzed by choice that I find it difficult to pick something out to play. I have a similar thing with movies as well. I have quite a collection of DVDs and Blu-rays because I love movies. I love watching movies. But what I don't know if anybody else gets affected by this. I have a strange brain at times. I will say I want to watch a movie, and I'll walk up to the shelving where I keep them all, and I'll look through and I'll see a movie and I'll go, oh, I think I'll watch that. And by the time my hand has reached out to watch the movie, the fucking thing is replayed through my head, and I feel like I've watched it. And then by the time I'm reaching out, I'm going, oh, I feel like I've watched that now. So and then I'll keep going on, and I end up just walking away because everything I go to pick, I feel it flashes through my mind so quickly. I feel like I've already, feel like I've just watched it.
The only really strange thing about that is, Warren, that in this day and age, you actually still have a physical movie collection. A long time ago, I actually switched my entire collection across to digital, so it's either on Amazon Prime, on Netflix, or something I picked up from the Google Play Store, and it's all just sitting there waiting for me. So that's the only strange thing there. Other than that, yeah, 100%.
I can absolutely describe to you why it is the way it is.
Right.
Because it's for budgetary reasons. I don't get much budget to be able to spend on these kinds of things. And if I try to buy a movie off Amazon or Google Play or whatever, for any decent movie, you're looking at £8, £9, £10 to buy it in HD. I can go to my local second-hand store, the CEX, the Consumer Electronics Second-Hand, and I can pick up a Blu-ray for £1.50.
Fair enough.
Or for £2.
Fair enough.
So that I on a Sunday afternoon when I take the kids and Andrea into town, Andrea doesn't mind me spending £1.50 or £2 because I'm allowed to spend that. But if I have Amazon, I have one of them Google Fire. Google Fire. Amazon Fire. TV jobbies.
Yeah,
they're really good.
They're flipping awesome. They're really, really fabulous. I'm trying to get a Beast of War working on it as well, so as you can actually watch all the Beast of War stuff seamlessly on it. It'll be an amazing device for watching Beast of War, let me tell you. But myself and the kids will talk into that to tell it a movie like Stuart Little. Little Max, my third of the fourth, he's 3. Is he 3? I think he's 3. Yeah, he's 3. And he's run around, and he is, to me, he's like a little tiny Stuart Little himself. Because he'll come into us in the morning, and he'll hop in the bed beside me, and he just curls up, and he's just so small. He's as cheeky as hell, but he's so small that I call him Stuart Little. He hates it. So then I said, well, can I call you Mighty Mouse? No, I hate that too. So I said, well, what if I call you Mighty Max? He went, Okay. So his new nickname is Mighty Max.
Okay.
So Mighty Max to save the day.
I remember.
You remember Mighty Mouse?
I
Yes?
remember Mighty Mouse.
Okay, great. Okay.
Nope.
Anyway, so that's my reasoning, Justin. Is
Okay, that's
and that's
enough.
the reason I still have a collection.
No, that's fair enough.
Andrea wants me to give it all to take it all into CEX and trade the whole lot in.
You get about £5.50 for that.
Yeah, probably.
I know I wouldn't.
It might be exchange, but the exchange is always in their favour.
It'll be pennies. It'll be pennies, but it would save some space.
That is actually one way to deal with burnout, both with games, DVDs, whatever, is slimming down to the ones you really enjoy.
Yes.
I've been doing that recently. I am a hoarder. I tend to hoard everything.
Yeah.
But recently I'm forcing myself to give up some of the minis I've got knocking around that I haven't
Some people
touched.
are very disciplined like that. Red Ben on the site is very disciplined like that. Red Ben, but probably for similar reasons to myself, actually, for budgeting reasons and things like that. He has a hobby budget. He will stick to his hobby budget. He will buy whatever he wants. If he sees a game that he likes, he will buy it. And he will play it until he no longer plays it. And then he has the discipline to sell it and to get rid of it, to build up his hobby budget again, to go and try something else. I'm not good at that.
No.
I am not good at that. I'm also a bit of a hoarder. What I end up doing is I'm not very good at. I'm not very organized in that sense to be able to sell lots of stuff and post it and whatnot. So I end up tending to take bag loads of stuff to the charity shop instead and giving it away.
Well, Ben, you're actually doing something similar to, aren't you? You're reducing the number of systems you're playing at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, because it was one of these things where I realized that it was almost an aspect of there being too much choice. So that, I had small collections for the likes of Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Malifaux, War Machine, Hordes, all these different games. But I was just so burnt out by the idea of having to try and get games to play everybody and then paint all these miniatures up that I was like, you know what, I'm just going to cut it down, just focus on 2 games and just play these 2 games this year. And that has really helped a lot, and it's reinvigorated me to get back into, doing a lot more hobby work, doing a lot more painting, focusing on sort of the lore and the background for each of these different games as well and stuff. But it is definitely like the burnout doesn't just even hit with the miniature side of things, because I've had the same thing happen with tabletop board games and card games as well. Like in particular, there was one game called Hanabi, which is sort of like a firework card game. It's a little bit hard to describe, but you're all about working together as a team to try and set these fireworks off. But anyway, that's much of a muchness. The burnout happened because we just played this game endlessly for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it got to the point where I was just like, I can't play this game anymore. I like it, but I don't want to play it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just one of these things where everyone else is like, no, man, you got to come and play it. We're having so much fun. And I'm like, no, I'm completely burnt out on this.
But this was the point I was making with the DVDs. Do you guys find that with your game collections as well, that you'll go to reach for a board game?
Yeah.
And it almost feels like you've already played it. The satisfaction gets sucked away a little bit because you've already.
It always tends to happen for me with slightly longer board games. So, for example, sitting down to play something like Through the Ages, or like a long game of Battlestar Galactica, or Dead of Winter or something, just sitting down to play those, I'm like, oh my god, do I really want to spend the hour or the hour and a half playing this game? And I know that they're good. I'm just completely burnt out by the concept of them, and that's why a lot of my year on the sort of board and card game side of things is more focused towards shorter games now, because I feel like I can get a lot more out of them, and I won't get that same hit of sort of burnout as with the longer ones. But
here's one for you, Warren. Whenever you're going to watch your movies, how often do you find yourself going for the same movie over and over again?
Not very often.
Very
there's a couple. It depends. There's a couple of favorites, like some of the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Oh yeah.
For myself, I always try and cycle the games that I'm playing, so that I'm not just constantly grinding on one.
Yeah.
Like whenever I first started wargaming, it was 40k all the way.
Yes.
That burnt me out because it was same meal, same meal, same meal, same meal, same meal.
Yeah.
I try and play a different game every week, just for the fact that it gives me variety, and I'm not feeling like I'm just grinding through any game, and it keeps the games fresher for me.
Well, let's put that. Let's put that to say there's hypothetically there's a community member there, and they're sitting thinking, yeah, I kind of feel burned out on gaming at the moment. So one of the suggestions is, well, if you're feeling like a game paralysis, why not get rid of a lot of the games? Try and have the discipline to look at what you've got and say, right, I'm going to get rid of them. Okay. Keep the ones that you've maybe invested a lot of time and energy into, because you may well come back to them. But get rid of some of the others where you've got unpainted stuff or it just hasn't taken you. Take that budget, and so you could either take a break, or an alternative would be go and buy a game that you maybe would never play.
Something out of the comfort zone.
One of the shorter ones. Something I would recommend a board game over another miniatures game, to be honest, just so that you actually get playing, because sometimes I think the habit of actually playing will help break that cycle of feeling, because in miniature games we are at a disadvantage sometimes.
Well, you have the deal set investment, you have the build, the paint, and then the learning.
Yes. And a lot of us can play after the build, but there's still a lot of effort often involved in the build.
Yeah.
So maybe picking up, like, if you could recommend a simple board or card game, it could be something as silly as one of the Munchkin.
If I had to recommend
Seven
simple
Wonders.
pickup,
Seven Wonders, yeah.
I would say Splendor.
if
Yeah,
you're going for a simple
Splendor,
pickup, it's King of Tokyo.
King of Tokyo.
It is light, fast to learn, and you're having a laugh while you're doing it, and the replayability in it and the expandability is there if you find that you love it and want to go deeper.
Yeah.
So I would say don't buy something that's just going to be a one-box wonder and it's just going to be a dead end. You're going to sit grinding in the game again. So something with a bit of expandability in it is always a good idea.
Okay, so scaling down your collection to try and remove the paralysis a bit.
Yeah, I'm never doing that.
Bring something new into your collection that would be different from anything that you would ever likely play before.
Yeah. Let's
talk about some others. What about new people? Because perhaps the burnout could be solved by you widening your gaming group, or looking for, because sometimes maybe bringing a non-gamer into the circle and acting as a mentor to them gives you another purpose to keep playing. You know what I mean? You're acting as, you're taking the experience that you have, because if you're burned out, chances are you have a fair chunk of experience behind you at that stage.
Pretty much.
So you're repurposing why you game.
I will say, I have spoken to Azza about this the odd time. Now, Az teaches people to play the whole time. He is always the guy bringing out a new game and teaching people to play.
That's true enough,
If you are that person, turn to the group and say, look, I would like you guys to pick a game and show me a new game for a change.
If you're feeling,
reverse that role.
Yes. Well, that's something different from what I'm saying. So that's somebody who is the teacher role, feeling burned out.
Yes, from teaching.
Pass it off and let somebody else do it. But if you're just your standard gamer and you're feeling burned out, maybe look for some new people, some new blood to bring into your gaming group.
That's what's happened with me with Lord of the Rings, because I came back into it and I was really enjoying the process of painting it, but then the whole aspect of gaming it to me was sort of like a little bit further away, and I was feeling a bit sort of like, oh god, do I really want to do this again? Do I really want to get stuck into another miniatures game? Blah blah blah. But then I was talking to one of my housemates about this and talking about it, and because he was so enthusiastic about it, that reignited the passion for me to start thinking about, we're really going to play this. We're going to do all the narrative stuff. We're going to do this kind of thing. So I genuinely think getting new people in and their enthusiasm can really, really help you, especially if you know that you love that game, but you just can't bring yourself to take that next step. It really, really does help. And then taking it down to the club and playing it with other people as well and getting them excited about it, that was the impetus to keep me going and buying new models and doing more painting and all that kind of thing as well.
Funnily enough, Lord of the Rings is the thing that's getting me more into my wargaming as well. I mean, we talked about this last week, how I'm starting to collect a army of Shire hobbits. Because, of course.
No!
If anyone has Bulrora Took out there, please. But, the reason I got into that was because my friend invited me down to a weekend campaign event. I was like, I don't know, I kind of got bored with campaigns and tournaments. They're just too competitive and dull. No, it's a great crowd. Look, this guy's going to lend you an Isengard army, just come have fun. People I'd never gamed with before, I had a blast.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved it, and now I'm really into that game.
So a change of people. What about a change of scenery then?
Yeah.
Games Workshop have just opened their first Warhammer cafe in the States. Yep.
Really?
So there's a I don't know many of the details. Do you know where it's at, Ben? I know it's in the US.
I'm not sure. It's in America.
Yeah, so it's in the US.
So that's a pretty wide zone you're looking for it in.
So it's
I'll find it eventually.
I'm looking. It's a different concept. It's a familiar concept to many of us. We've all seen board gaming cafes and stuff like that. So it's another approach for Games Workshop to try and see. I think it's a very smart move on their behalf.
It's creating those social hubs.
So it's a larger venue where you get to play games, and then there's also beverages and food and stuff like that.
Yeah, you have
It doesn't exactly say where it is yet in their announcement, but it will be coming. So.
So what about a change of venue? What about looking at, certainly here in Europe, there's lots of kind of like old buildings and stuff like that where you might be able to rent out an old church or an old castle or a citadel or something like that and play there. Look, do we think a change of environment?
Yeah, I mean, when I went off to the Irish Hobbit League, I do most of my gaming here in the studio.
Yeah.
In the main gaming room we've got. And going off to this different place was invigorating. It was stuff, it was tables I hadn't got played on before, and in a place I hadn't been to before. So that was a good part of it, and it made it more an event for me because I was going somewhere new. It was freezing though. They didn't have any heating in this place.
Here's one for you then. If you're going to go to the trouble of actually renting out like an ancient castle or something, or an old church or something for the venue, why not go the whole hog and make it a themed event? Make your hobby feel special again, because there are times whenever you feel that you're playing your game, and it gets boring, it gets dull. Whereas adding maybe a themed event to something, it could make it have that shine to it again.
So theme it in what way? Theme it with dress, food?
However far you want to go.
The Game of Thrones miniatures game, A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
In one of the castles we have around here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't.
People in fancy dress. You could actually, maybe if you're doing it as a part of a big club, you could maybe actually hire in like medieval performers, stuff like that. Right, if you're gonna go the whole hog,
yeah, jesters, jesters,
something,
prancing over the tables and kicking over your miniatures, left, right, and center.
No, you get what I mean. If you want to go for it, you can take it as far as you want. So you could do it as like a themed campaign in this location.
Yeah.
Write a history and a backstory from the location that ties it all in.
I love it.
I remember seeing
Beasts of War have just solved your gamer burnout problem. Hire minstrels.
Yeah. I've got this wonderful image.
Make it themed
You
as far as
may
you
be
want.
feeling burned out, but you're not really.
Warren.
I'm here to cheer you up. Really.
Warren, this ties in with our discussion last week about whether or not you should have music while you game.
Right.
This needs more epic music. Minstrel!
Minstrel! Come on.
I
I'm
think
just
this
saying
does
you can go as far as you
actually.
want with it.
Yeah.
I think this does actually touch slightly on something that maybe affects miniatures games a lot more than other things, is the competitive scene, and those themed days could maybe alleviate a lot of the burnout that a lot of competitive players get, because I've seen it with a lot of people that play, for example, competitive War Machine or competitive Warhammer 40,000. That meta and the grind of the meta can get you down sometimes. Maybe you end up just playing the same lists all the time. Maybe you end up not really diversifying your collection or taking miniatures that you really like because you have to fit into this sort of tournament competitive mindset. And so that kind of shies a lot of people away eventually from these kind of tournament things, unless you're really sort of set in the right mindset for these kind of things. So maybe these kind of theme days, as Justin was saying, could be a nice way for you to look back at your collection and see it in a different light. So maybe you take that Grey Knights Force that you'd like tuned finely for a tournament setting, and then you do something a little bit more narrative with it. Take some different characters, do something a little bit different with like the campaign and the narrative, and maybe a map-based stuff on the tabletops and things as well. So yeah, could be cool.
About the minstrels.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll go out and buy you a pack of sweets.
No. I think we should do that. I think we need minstrels to come into one of our boot camps. Will they be wearing tights and a codpiece, though?
Yeah.
Look,
Head melted. Okay, it's all right, man. It's okay. You don't need to
I'll
answer
stand in
that.
the corner and juggle.
what I'm thinking is there are ways you can do that. Now, there are going to be some of the bigger, wargaming organizations over in America where they actually probably could do that. If they
Get a
went to,
codpiece and tights on.
if they went for a Song of Ice and Fire and went to something like Medieval Times and actually organised so that there was the show that they do with a meal there after they had been gaming for a time, you would actually have people jousting and stuff in this place. It's doable.
Sorry,
They're not playing on the bloody field. They're not jousting amongst the tables, god damn you.
Never mind that. We're time. Come on.
It's doable.
Ignore the horse and just keep playing.
No, I guarantee it's doable. If you were to rent out something like a Medieval Times,
dude, I may as well announce now. We're probably like 99% sure we're going to do a Game of Thrones boot camp here. I'm going to organise a Game of Thrones boot camp, and we're trying to see if we can actually the Saturday be a bit different. We're actually going to organise a Game of Thrones tour. A tour of the North, taking you to all of the sites that were filmed for Game of Thrones. So a Song of Ice and Fire boot camp is going to be here. Clearly, now I haven't thought this through because I need to now organise the minstrels with their codpieces and jousting horses. It will be done. I will find a way. We will find a
I guarantee
way.
it can be done in America.
I bet you it can be done here.
Challenge accepted.
I will arrange
Although
the
I am not
minstrels.
riding the donkey.
No, you can be the minstrel. You can wear the codpiece. The 3D printer.
In the words of Blackadder, bring me the Black Russian.
So if you want to see Justin in a codpiece, keep your eye open because we'll be putting up tickets for Backstagers very, very soon.